Kaleb Jackson is staying at LSU. What it means for the 2025 Tigers, we're discussing. It's Locked on LSU. Here we go.
You are Locked on LSU, your daily podcast on the LSU Tigers. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, let's get it. It is Locked on LSU, your team every day. I'm your host, Matt Moscona. Thanks so much for making us your first listen. We are free, available wherever you get podcasts, of course, on YouTube as well. So please subscribe. And as always, one of the fastest ways to help us grow is by leaving your comments below. So thank you sincerely for that. Thank you for being with us here today. Gigantic news for Brian Kelly and the LSU football Tigers as they wrapped up spring practice on Thursday. Remember that the open scrimmage, the former spring game on last Saturday, but Kelly reworked the schedule, so we had a practice Tuesday and Thursday so as to take advantage of the full 34-day allotment. You have 34 days from your first spring practice. You have 34 days to get the 15 workouts in. So Brian Kelly wanted to take full advantage of that time. So they practiced again Tuesday, Thursday. Well, after practice on Thursday, a handful of players met with reporters. Among them was Kaleb Jackson, and he left it in no uncertain terms that his decision is that he is staying at LSU.
To make it clear, the portal's open, but you're not going in?
No, I'm not going in.
I'm not going. I'll play it again very quickly, but that's Wilson Alexander, the advocate, asking the question. Want to make it clear, the portal's open, you're not going in. He says, I'm not going in. Here it is again.
Just to make it clear, the portal's open, but you're not going in?
No, I'm not going in.
I think that is massively significant for LSU, and I understand that Kaleb Jackson is one of those guys that's a little bit of a conversation point because we have seen him flash at times, but we haven't seen the consistency. And one of the questions I got asked most a year ago is, where's Kaleb Jackson? Hey, go back with me, if you will, to the beginning of his freshman season, where in one of those fall practices, we saw him rip off a 75-yard run. He broke about 4 tackles getting in the end zone around left end. Last year in fall camp, he dump trucked Whit Weeks in an open period that the media got to see. The hype built so much, it just hasn't really manifested on the field so far. As a freshman, Kaleb Jackson had 31 rushing attempts for 165 yards and 4 touchdowns. Last year, we were all anticipating this big step up, and he carried the ball just 44 times for 150 yards. It's in large part due to Caden Durham's emergence. But I want to talk about in a second. And Kaleb Jackson was fantastic, y'all. The 10-minute sit down he had with reporters, he was amazing. And I'm gonna let you hear some from his own words. I've chopped it up so you'll be able to hear the high points. And he talked a lot about what went wrong for him. Very self-aware. What went wrong last year? Weight gain, what he thought his role would be, all that stuff I'm going to get to in a second. But even for a guy that through 2 years has a total of 75 rushes for 315 yards in 2 years, I still think this is a massively significant development that Kaleb Jackson is returning because he provides you something different. Let me make a comparison by using another position that, again, if you're an everydayer, thank you for that. You heard me talk earlier in the week about Nick Anderson and why Nick Anderson is so significant to this LSU offense. He's the Oklahoma wide receiver transfer. Well, he's 6'4", 219 and can fly. 21 yards of reception 2 years ago. Look, and that's not to say you don't have great receivers, but the biggest receiver you have is Chris Hilton at 6 foot tall, 195 pounds. You've got Barian Brown and Aaron Anderson and Xavier Thomas and Destin Hill, and all these guys kind of are the same build. They're smaller receivers, 6 foot and under. Now, here's this guy that's 6'4", 219, and he just creates a completely different matchup problem for a defense. Well, think about LSU's running back position. Caden Durham is outstanding, y'all. I'm as excited as anybody to see how he builds in year 2. Well, Caden Durham's 5'9", 205. Now, he's stocky and short and low to the ground and can run with power and speed, but he's 5'9", 205. Look at Harlem Berry, 5'8", 185, a smaller guy there. You don't have him right now, but even if you get Trey Holly back, he's 5'7", 192. As we mentioned, they're using Xavier Thomas and Aaron Anderson in the backfield as well. Well, Xavion Thomas is 5'10", 195. Aaron Anderson, another smaller wide receiver at 5'8", 187. The point is, when you look at Kaleb Jackson, who is 235 pounds, 6 foot 235, that's a different build, a different running style, a different skill set. When you have guys that look different physically, you can't become predictable by personnel, and you don't pigeonhole your offense. If you need to have Kaleb Jackson dotting the I to power forward for a yard or two, you can. But versatility at the running back position is going to be paramount also. So you have multiple guys that can do different things. If you get Kaleb Jackson and Caden Durham on the field at the same time, listen, I think the biggest problem Joe Sloan is going to have, and this is a good problem to have, but I think the biggest problem he's going to have, he's got so many mouths to feed. How do you get all of these guys touches? Now, again, that's a good problem to have, but I was having a conversation with someone close to the program, and my thought was Harlem Berry probably, just being realistic, Harlem Berry's probably going to get 5-7 touches a game, I would think, as a true freshman, and kind of thought it's probably going to be more like 10 to 12. And I'm like, that sounds great, and I think he could absolutely handle that load, but who are you taking touches away from to get Berry 10 to 12 touches a game? We'll see how it all plays out. I mean, at this point a year ago, nobody was thinking that Caden Durham was going to be the leading rusher. I have told you the story before. If I go check my notebook and go back and look at fall camp notes from last year, I don't know that I wrote Caden Durham's name down at all. A season ago, every time we had conversations about breakout players, it was Kaleb Jackson, not Caden Durham. So again, that's all to say things can develop as the season goes along, but I think it is very, very significant. And by the way, with all that in mind, one of the other things that Kaleb Jackson was asked was about staying the course at LSU. And listen, keep in mind what I just said about being a different style back. Listen to how Kaleb Jackson described it.
Like I said, I think they recruited me here for a reason. They like my play style. I'm different. Of course, I'm not the same back as Cade. I'm not the same back as Harlem. I'm a different back. So they're going to fit me in plays, that fit my play style. And that was my mindset to stay the course. Maybe they don't need me right here in this moment. And, that was over and over again throughout the whole season. Like, okay, when am I going to get in? Okay, and then the whole season passed. And then it was like, okay, maybe I don't belong. And maybe I should do this. Maybe I should do that. But I just, put my trust in God, put my trust in my coaches, my family, and they all told me just keep working, keep doing this, keep doing that, and here I am now. I feel like I had a better spring than I had last year. The goals I wanted to complete, I tried to complete them. I think I completed them, but that's in my head right now.
I mean, how self-aware is that? If you listen to what he said, it kind of alludes to, they like me here because I'm a different back than Caden and Trey, and he is. He's a very, and Harlem, he's a very different back than the ones that they have and how they can use him. But you heard him say all throughout last year, I kept thinking, when's it going to be my time? Maybe I should do this, do that, meaning go in the portal. But ultimately, family convinced him to stay the course, which you're about to hear as well. And this is a thing that I think is going to make people really, really magnetized to Kaleb Jackson. You're going to love the rest of this conversation today. So don't go anywhere. But again, it's massively significant, not because you're returning a guy who's had a ton of production. You're returning a guy who gives you something completely different in your offense that nobody else can. So what happened a year ago? How did Kaleb Jackson go from so much hype to so little production? We're talking about that next, and you're going to hear it from his own words next. Locked on LSU, your team every day. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty Black Ops and Avowed as easily as you stream your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. And it's affordable, portable gaming. You can play high-quality Xbox games at a fraction of the cost of a console. Already have a console? A Fire TV Stick 4K device is more affordable and easier to travel with, allowing you to take you or your kids' games wherever you plug in. So head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. That's Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On. Xbox Game Pass Plus Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube 3rd Gen. So Kaleb Jackson was so hyped going into the 2024 season. And by his own admission, as he spoke with reporters, he bought into the hype.
Growth-wise, like I said, I had to get way stronger mentally going through last year. Like, I went through my freshman year, and everybody saying, oh, Kaleb Jackson, the next this, next that, next this. Oh, he's going to be amazing. And I kind of got high on cloud nine thinking, okay, it's just going to happen. Like, if I just keep doing what I'm doing, it's just going to happen. And that's not how it happens. You got to stay in the film room. You got to stay doing this, stay doing that, and keep stacking and keep growing as a player. So, really, I just got to think, maybe I can shoot for the stars, but at the same time, I got to stay grounded and spill my feet off. I got to be Kaleb Jackson, you know what I'm saying? Just play like me, run like me, read like me, and, you know what I'm saying, just be great like me.
It's always interesting when you hear someone acknowledge they bought into their own hype. And there's a couple of things that I remember vividly. But in fall camp before his freshman season, LSU had an open. Now, keep in mind, this was 2023, so this was Jaden's Heisman season. The offense was having a little bit of a rough day, and Kaleb Jackson ends up taking a handoff left side and breaks like three. It's in a red zone period, from about 10 yards out, and he just breaks about 3 or 4 tackles and gets in the end zone. And then later, he takes a screen pass on the east sideline going toward the south end zone and breaks a tackle, makes a guy miss, and runs 75 yards for a score. It was amazing. And so we're all like jaw dropped, right? Oh my God, he's going to be amazing. And so the hype started. And then against Mississippi State, he annihilated some poor child on the sideline, and it only grew and built, right? And so you knew going into 2024 that he was likely the guy to take that next step. Josh Williams was back, but so much of the conversation was about Kaleb Jackson taking the next step. Every interview I did last year at SEC Media Days in July in Dallas, everyone, you get asked a lot of the same question a lot of times. Like, you'll get asked the same question 10 times. So, Nussmeier taking over for Jaden Daniels. How do you replace your offensive coordinator? All that sort of stuff, right? Mike Denbrock had gone to Notre Dame. So you get asked the same thing over and over again. And one of the most common questions is, okay, well, who's the standout guy? And the way that I would say it is the guy that nobody knows his name today that everyone will know by the end of the season is Kaleb Jackson. I mean, I was fully bought into the hype as well because you saw the physical ability and it didn't manifest. So one of the reasons why was his weight gain. We just talked about how at 235 pounds, he gives you something different. But by Kaleb Jackson's own admission, the weight gain was a bit of an issue a year ago.
Definitely was something I had to learn to play with because really what it was, I'm a big back. So that was like, okay, just put this muscle on, do this and do that. And I still had my speed somewhat. It was just the shiftiness and stuff like that. It's bad on the joints, bad on the hips and stuff like that. So I feel like I lost that stuff a little bit being that heavy, to be honest with you. So right now I was just in the process of, losing weight, getting back to where I was. And when I feel like I could move around with my speed and still had that power, that bang to break tackles and stuff like that.
And if you asked people internally within the program last year, everyone acknowledged it, that he was too heavy. I don't know that many people said it publicly. If anybody said it publicly, now that Kaleb Jackson has said it, it's out there. I mean, he acknowledged. He said I was too heavy. I lost a lot of my shiftiness. The weight was a problem on my joints, and you want to be able to maintain power, but also the speed, maneuverability. If you have the instance to do it, go search on Twitter for that play from the scrimmage. The one I just referenced, the Kaleb Jackson 75-yard screen pass. The LSU football Twitter account posted it, so it's from last year. And you could see him break a tackle, sidestep, make a guy miss. I mean, the size was there, but so was the agility, and it lacked last season. And it was very obvious, and he acknowledged it. So a big part of Kaleb Jackson getting right for this season is also getting his body right and getting back in shape. So listed at 235 a year ago, I'll be very interested to see what he will be listed on the opening day roster when LSU goes and takes on Clemson in Clemson in that season opener, to see maybe if 225. You drop 10 pounds if that's something that's a little more manageable for Kaleb Jackson. But you could really tell that he's got the right attitude going about this. And he also talked about what he learned from a season ago, going through that where he had so much hype, but didn't have the role he wanted.
What I learned is to be patient, not be overzealous, not to put myself down too much, because I feel like that's what I was doing. I was telling myself that I'm not good enough, that I'm not this, I'm not that, that type of stuff. But I feel like what I had to learn is that everybody has a time. Maybe my time wasn't last year. Maybe it's going to be this year. Maybe it's not this year. Maybe it's going to be the year after that. But I feel like if I just keep putting my head down and working, because this is a great program. It's a great school, great academic, great everything. If I just keep working, I feel like it's going to pay off sometime.
How do you not love this guy? And another thing that's so important to keep in mind, y'all, is the era. Like, it's one thing if Kaleb Jackson is saying that in 1995, but in 2025, when it is so easy to leave, the system is made for guys to leave. If Kaleb Jackson were to go in the transfer portal, there would be programs all over the country salivating about getting that guy there to be their lead back, and he would immediately be a 15 to 20 carry per game guy. But he's saying, I want to stay. I want to lose weight. My time is going to come. I'm going to be ready when it's there. It's like, it's all the things that we want to hear as fans. Like, we want to be romantic about college football and guys that want to play at your program. It's the reason, y'all. It's the reason there's so much allure to Garrett Nussmeier, because Nuss is a guy, and although he's well traveled because his dad took a lot of jobs, he's from Lake Charles. He claims Louisiana. He always wanted to play at LSU, and you can tell the same with Kaleb Jackson. Now, another thing that's worth mentioning, and Brian Kelly talked about this back in September when Kaleb was having a little bit of a slow start. Something else we forget. Kaleb Jackson is still new to football, and that blows a lot of people's minds, but he was a soccer player at Liberty Magnet in Baton Rouge. He didn't start playing football until late in his high school career. So you're still talking about a guy that is still learning the nuance of football, which, by the way, when he was asked in that same interview on Thursday his goals, I'm going to play this for you. It's a short clip, but he doesn't mention anything about carries or touches or touchdowns. Listen to what he said his goals are.
To be more of an overall back, better at pass protection first and foremost. Short down and distance, I wanted to be better in that. Not getting denied at the goal line. What else? Be a third down back where I can get out the backfield, catch passes, all that type of stuff. And of course, just run the ball, be explosive, break tackles, and everything, all of the above.
All of the above. But think about the first two things he said. He said, first and foremost, want to get better in pass protection. Why was Josh Williams? Josh Williams went from walk-on to a lead back at LSU, a key member of your offense. Why? Primarily, how did he begin to earn his opportunity? Pass protection. Josh Williams was known as a great. Go back to the overtime. Well, we all mentioned it. The overtime game against Alabama, the Jaden Daniels touchdown in overtime, that got sprung by a block from Josh Williams. Caleb's telling you, I need to get better at pass protection first and foremost. What's the second thing he said? Being a third down back so he can catch the ball out of the backfield. So you're not just a guy that's out there to run between the tackles. Josh Williams, 31 receptions a year ago, the most among LSU's running backs. You're replacing that guy. So who's going to take that role? Who can pass protect? Who can catch the ball out of the backfield? Well, he's telling you right there, those are things at the top of his list. It's hard not to root for a guy like that who is that bought in to making himself better physically, mentally, in all the different understanding of the game, and of course a local guy as well. But there's one more thing that I want you to hear from Kaleb Jackson when he talked about who inspired him and one of the big reasons why that person inspired him to stay at LSU. You're going to hear that as we wrap up next. Locked on LSU, your team every day. I really hope you're enjoying this conversation. It's very rare that we do one full episode on one topic singularly, but I think the Kaleb Jackson topic warrants it because I get asked so much about him. And Kaleb was also asked who inspires him. And he, like many people, said his mom. But this answer, which allowed a young person who's 20 years old to go long form and wax poetic a bit about his mom, and I think he did a beautiful job of doing that, is something that I think provides a tremendous amount of context as to why the last 20 minutes of us talking and hearing Kaleb Jackson talk about himself and his career and how he's got to this point, how he ended up the way he did.
My parents weren't blessed. My mom has 4 kids, just her by herself. She's the hardest working woman I've ever met in my life. She didn't give up. She didn't resort to anything else to take away the stress. She didn't do all that. She worked and worked to put me in this position where I can finally take care of her and my little siblings and my future family. So that's my role model. My mother, just to not giving up and stuff like that. Because my family is from here, from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So having them in my circle at all times is always amazing. Having to be able to go home, talk to my mama, have a talk with my grandma, have a talk with my father, and all that type of stuff. It really sets my head straight, and makes me want to go harder just for them, just so I can do it in my home state. As a kid from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, went to school down the street. You know what I'm saying? That played an impact when we wanted to stay here and just keep going.
Being from Baton Rouge and his family as a support system right down the street were a huge impact in him staying. He talked about his mom and raising 4 kids, and one of the things he said is she didn't resort to anything to deal with the stress. And you know what he's alluding to there, right? We're all adult. Well, you might be a young person listening or watching, but a lot of people who deal with stress can resort to alcohol or drugs or any number of things that are unhealthy to deal with stress in our lives. That's a very common thing, not just for a parent, for anybody in life. And he said she's the hardest working person, raised 4 kids by herself, never resorted to anything to deal with the stress. And for him, it's so important to have this opportunity now to be able to take care of her, take care of his younger siblings, and also staying because he has his mom, his dad, his grandmother here, his support system that he can lean on when things aren't going great. And for a guy who, by his own acknowledgement, bought into a lot of the hype last year, and the season didn't go the way that he hoped it would have been very easy to look for the escape hatch in this era. And quite honestly, I wouldn't blame him. Not one iota. I wouldn't blame him if he would have gone and looked around. But how can you not love all the reasons that he gave for wanting to stay? By his family, with the support system, being from Baton Rouge, wanting to play for the state school, wanting to be there with his teammates, wanting to improve in all these ways, lose weight, be a better weight to play, wants to be a better pass blocker, better runner, better teammate, that's all the things that you want. Those are the things, quite honestly, that Brian Kelly preaches when he talks about getting someone in, recruiting and developing from the high school level and becoming complete players. And I think Kaleb Jackson embodies that, man. What an easy guy to root for. But I'll tell you one other thing. I know you've heard me, if you're an everydayer, again, and thank you for that. And you might be finding this show for the first time. And if you are, that's awesome too. And thank you for being here. But one of the things, I am, by my own admission, so extremely pro student athlete in the NIL portal era. So much so that it does bother a lot of you sometimes. And that's okay. We can disagree. That's okay. I don't know that there's a good, a bad, a right or wrong. Just I have a different opinion than most do. And when I was listening to Kaleb Jackson tell that story, it reminded me of something that I know I've told on many different platforms before, and I'll repeat here. You probably remember Kevin Minter, if you're old enough. It's weird that I have to qualify that now, but Kevin finished at LSU 13 years ago. 2012, he was a first-team All-American, but for Manti Te'o's fake dead girlfriend, Kevin Minter was the best linebacker in college football that year and would have been the Butkus Award winner. It should have been the Butkus Award winner. He outperformed Manti Te'o in every statistical category, tackles, sacks, TFLs, everything. He was on an incredible LSU defense in 2012. But Te'o had all of the hoopla surrounding that, what we later found out was a fake dead girlfriend. But anyway, and Manti had a great season. He was a great player. Please don't misunderstand. But Minter was otherworldly that year. And Kevin also interned with my radio show that year. And when Kevin left LSU after that 2012 season, went into the draft, I had him on my show as a guest, and we talked about his decision. And one of the things that he said was, because he had another year of eligibility, he came in redshirted, so he stayed for 4 years, but could have come back for a senior season and played a fifth, but decided to go pro. And he said, I never want to see my mom struggle again. And he talked about his mom raising him and that was his decision for leaving. As much as he loved LSU and could have come back and all, that was his decision. And that always resonated with me because at that time, that was 2012. So I would have been 29, maybe 30 years old. I was married, but did not have children. Yeah, I was newly married, did not have our son yet. And so there was a lot of just life experience and context that I didn't understand. And I think for so many fans, and this is not a criticism, by the way, this is just an observation. I think for so many fans, the only experience you ever have with these players is through a TV screen. You watch the games, you watch the interviews, and that's it. And sometimes we lose sight of the fact that they are young people, that these are still people that are 18 or 19 or 20 or 21. And in some cases, they have just exceptional amounts of pressure on them, not only from school and pressure and fans and expectations in the future of NFL and all that sort of stuff, but also home life pressures, like to be the one that in some instances can help take care, provide for their families. And we don't consider that oftentimes. But that's one reason, the primary reason why I am so in favor of student athletes being able to get whatever they can get in NIL or revenue share, call it whatever you want, call it pro sports. I don't care what you label it. If somebody's willing to pay them money, I want them to be able to take that money. That at its most basic level, that's where I stand. And hearing Kaleb Jackson talk about that just further reinforces that for me. And hopefully for you, it maybe makes you think about it a little more and consider a little more where a guy like that's coming from. And I commend him so much for staying at LSU and for staying put, because it's what he wants to do. And he didn't feel the pressure to just leave and go in the portal and find a place where he can get more carries, because that pressure's there. But it's a degree of patience, and hopefully that patience is rewarded this year at LSU and in future years, hopefully in a long, successful pro career as well. I really enjoyed listening to that conversation with Kaleb Jackson. Hopefully you did as well, and you can have a greater appreciation for the young man and the football player and be rooting him on this fall with an opportunity to continue to grow and develop in every way, personally and in his football journey. So Kaleb Jackson staying at LSU, and I'm fired up for it. I'm fired up to have you here as well. Hey, thank you so much for making this your first listen every single day. Now for your second listen, how about you go check out Locked On NFL Draft as your favorite collegiate players get ready for the next level. Get the latest draft rankings, rumors, and news every day. You can find Locked On NFL Draft on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Hey, speaking of, if you are on podcasts, please subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Rate us, leave a review. If you're on YouTube, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you're notified whenever we post a new video. And let a friend know if they love the Tigers. We got you here every single day for Locked On LSU, your team every day.